Hello and welcome to the Media Communications BS Hour Take 2. We had a tragic recording accident in which we lost the entire MCBS Hour from March 19th, 2014. And when I say we, I'm talking about me. I made a mistake. So rather than you getting to hear a recorded archive of exactly what happened with all of the fun interaction and the joking and the cool stuff that's talked about, I'm afraid I'm just going to get to run through what we talked about in summary form. And that's just how it's going to have to be because we don't have any other recordings. So we started off by taking a look at our awesome faculty. We love to play games, and sometimes when we lose, we're not as pleased with it, but that was just a little fun way to get started as we did our introductions. And then we jumped directly into media in the news. Media in the news. And we had a few media in the news items to talk about. One of them was a look at the timeline from what's been going on with the Ukraine and how social media has impacted that hotspot. And I pulled some screenshots straight from the Google News feed. In January 2nd, there was an article talking about how social networks are getting the word out about the Ukrainian conflict because a lot of the major news organizations weren't talking about it much, but the social media was still making sure that the information was pushing that message out. A lot of times when there's a popular uprising, the people in power are able to suppress the people talking about what's wrong and telling their story. And the social networks were giving the Ukrainians a chance to keep that story out in front of everybody. February 14th, there was another article talking about how the social media tactics used in the Ukraine have been used in other popular uprisings and are even being applied currently to some that are currently going on. So the Ukrainians did a really good job of keeping their story out in front of the people, thanks to social media again. A week later, an article about the tweeting of the revolution and how the previous few days had been some of the bloodiest in that conflict. And again, thanks to Twitter and other social media sites, the conflict didn't go unnoticed. It was seen by anybody that was following along, and many people were. If it wasn't being talked about on a major news network, people were able to find out more about what was going on from social media sites. On March 2nd, an article was posted about how the Ukrainian activists are working really hard to counter the Russian narrative. Now, even that word in there, narrative, is exciting to see because it reminds us all that everybody is telling a story. In this case, the Russians are telling a story of how the Ukrainians want them to come in, about how the Ukrainians voted overwhelmingly for them to take Croatia and things like this. So that's the Russian narrative. But the Ukrainians want their story to be heard as well. So they're countering the Russian narrative by using social media again. Thankfully, there's a soapbox for them to stand on so that they can get that message out to the world. A day later, this article posted, Russia blocks pro-Ukraine groups on social media. And this is just the first step. This is where social media gets taken away in some cases from many of the protesters. What happened here is the few of the very pro-Ukrainian sites were blocked from the people of Russia. So Russia doesn't want its own people to see what's being said by the Ukrainians. It's hard to have a story like the Russians have. It's hard to have a story if there's people that are countering it. And so the Russians started blocking that story from their own people, basically so they don't lose the support of the people, because they know what happens when there's a popular uprising, because they're in the middle of taking advantage of one right now. So that was a look at a timeline, and it might be a little dark and depressing, but there's an excellent example of how social media can get a message out there for any groups, and how censorship can dry up the benefits of social media very quickly. So, just something to think about. And now we'll jump into something slightly more jovial. In the gaming industry, there's some big news. Oculus Rift was one of the only 3D helmets that you could wear, the goggle sets that would allow you to have a first-person view of the games you played. But now the PlayStation 4 has unveiled a piece that it is going to be selling, and I believe, because I don't have my notes because this is my take two, it's called the Magellan. No, that's not right. Something cool, though. Something like Magellan. Maybe if I sit here long enough, I'll remember. Nope, not gonna. But if you Google it, you'll find out the PlayStation 4 is coming out with a 3D hood and helmet for that first-person game experience. And it's going to be called Murgatroyd. Nope, sorry, that's not it. I thought maybe if I tricked myself into it, I'd remember, but I didn't. But from one set of geeky gaming goggles to another set of sleek sporting goggles, it looks like we've got first-person view coming from the professional basketball players soon. This was already beta tested during a game, and now it's actually going to be used during a game where the Kings, and I wish I knew enough about basketball. Renee did a great job of talking about this, by the way. Renee did a great job of talking about this, by the way, because he knows about sports and I don't, but I'll do my best. So this... The Kings, who've already beta tested this, are now planning on their next game wearing these Google Glass cameras, recorders, so that within the game, people seated in the stadium can sit and look around, and on the big giant screens within the stadium, they're going to show the first-person view of these players. So the fans get to see exactly what the sports stars are seeing. And that's exciting. It's a lot like playing a video game, in fact, where you get the first-person view of whichever sports character you are moving around with your joystick. At this point, Renee made some good jokes about how the referees should have to wear these so that people can see if they're even looking at what they're making calls on, and that was really funny, so it's too bad you didn't get to hear that. Next, we jumped into a segment called Failing Forward. We've had it before where groups have made mistakes and we can learn from those mistakes. In this case, if you look at the shocked faces you see here, this morning news group on Fox 31 out of, where are they? Denver, I think? I believe so. Or Detroit. Once again, it's an easy Google away. Check out Fox 31 mistake if you want to see and read all about it. But this is their mistake. There was a helicopter crash, very tragic, very sad, and they're reporting on that. And they were taking advantage of one of the Twitter feeds from a citizen journalist, somebody who was on the scene, took pictures, and they were accessing those pictures through that person's Twitter account. And you see the guy in the brown suit there. He's got his finger poised over the iPad that interfaces with what we, the viewers, are about to see on the screen. So you'll notice that he's watching some smoking pictures from a fire, and that's apparently relevant, or is indeed relevant. But he then swipes into an area that is obviously not related to the story and keeps going. And you got to imagine, he's got a lot of viewers. I mean, a lot of viewers people are watching him live right now, or, when it happened. And they saw him scrolling through these pictures where the smoke is. And then he gets over into a Edward Scissorhands and a recipe. And right there, I've blocked out a giant mistake. And if you can see the looks on their faces, they all realize that he has stumbled into something. This is a family show. I can't tell you exactly what I blocked out there, what I censored from your delicate eyes, but it was pornographic. There, I can say that. And that's why everybody is so incredibly shocked, because they just showed everybody in their entire viewing audience something that they definitely didn't intend to show. And so for failing forward purposes, I'll just throw out something that I thought was obvious already, but apparently isn't. So just in case you don't already know this, if you're going to be showing any number of people, a group of 3, a meeting room full of 20, or an audience of millions, preview the material you're going to show them before you start zipping through. And also use some common sense. Use some common sense before you go zipping through somebody's personal Twitter pictures without having looked at them first, for goodness sakes. So, I'm going to guess Mr. Brown Suit has learned his lesson, and he won't be making that mistake again soon. So, failing forward, good luck to them. Next, we did a segment on I Can't Believe This Is Someone's Job. Just in the last couple days, there was an Ask Reddit. In this Ask Reddit, the question was, what product, item, or appliance will you never ever buy again? The interesting thing is that a question like this got a lot of attention, and people were interested in answering the questions, and so they upvoted it, which means it was more visible to the Reddit community. They upvoted, or clicked that little up arrow. But then suddenly, after people started talking about the things they hated the most, Breyer ice cream, Kodak printers, Keurig coffee makers, and many other things like that that had brand names that were being complained about, suddenly the number of downvotes began to climb rapidly. And the question's visibility quickly went down, and less people saw it. And the person who posted had to say, I'm sorry, I guess this isn't going to get a lot of traction because it looks like a lot of marketers have sent their people to downvote this into oblivion. Wow. It is somebody's job to work for marketing firms to go in and influence what is seen on Reddit. Squads went in and downvoted. People that each have several accounts each in a room all went to this post and downvoted it. Why? If you make it to the front page of Reddit, you're going to be seen by potentially millions of people. And if millions of people hear that you're a great company, that's good for you. And if millions of people hear that you have a product, item, or appliance that many people will never ever buy again, that's some pretty damaging PR. That's some bad press. They don't want people to know that. And so if they can send out their teams of people to bury stories like this, they don't have to worry about that. So it's kind of unfortunate, because I considered Reddit a community-based site where the community decided what important things floated to the top where they were visible and what things floated to the bottom where they weren't. I thought that was a great model. It was very democratic. But that is being influenced now, because of the size of the audience, by people with money. So money seems to get involved anywhere that it can be slipped in, and affects that community. So I think, I can't believe this is someone's job. You could get a job using these black hat tactics to get your message out there, or to hide bad messages about your company. But also, when you're out viewing content that is curated by the community, keep in mind that the community includes marketers, and that the message you're seeing is sometimes pushed by people that have a vested interest in that message. It might be tainted with someone's opinions, or, protecting who butters their bread, for instance, and you're not getting the actual story. So critical reading and critical thinking are crucial this day and age. So keep an eye out for marketers while you're in community curated areas. Yeah. And also keep in mind, Reddit is not the happy prance around place that you might think it is. Obviously, it's already pretty raw in some areas, but it's also infiltrated by groups that are there crafting their own messages and distributing their own messages to the masses. Then for Kathy's Corner, I am so sorry you guys didn't get to hear this. We had such a great guest, and again, if I had a name here, that would be great. This is us interviewing for a lab specialist position. It was, you'll never guess, it was St. Patrick's Day, and so we all wore St. Patrick's Day hats while we had the interview. Uh, and we'll have some news for you soon about what lab specialist we've brought into the MCBS team and family, and you'll get to meet that person soon, hopefully, if you're on campus or a visitor. But then Kathy talked to the very nice lady who runs Spark. And Spark is an organization run by Full Sail that acts as a third-party company. They hire students to do jobs, they're volunteer, but you get to write down that you actually worked on a project for a company called Spark Student Productions. And because of that, it's a great way to get some real-world experience doing different things. Spark not only does small little organizational, or helps out small organizations like nonprofits in the area, but it also runs a lot of the Full Sail activities, like the Hall of Fame. That was all put together by Spark. Students that were hired by Spark to come and volunteer their time on these big projects so they get resume lines and real-world experience. It's not about how you're going to present yourself on a resume all the time. Sometimes it's about what you've really put your hands on. In addition, we talked about how they work with NXT, that WWE event that takes place at Full Sail, and how the students are the ones that put the stage together. They run the cable, they write some of the scripts, they do some of the work. It's really pretty impressive. There's a scholarship that NXT gives out to students that have helped. That's pretty impressive. And in addition, something. Yeah, there was something in addition here. There was so much, in fact, to hear about. It's a shame that you didn't get to hear, but I know that we're going to have Jackie back, and she's going to tell us a lot more about Spark. And, oh, I remembered, we had 2 of our students who are already involved in some of these projects. They've applied to Spark and been, I'm using air quotes, they have been hired. So that's amazing. It was our campus students, Donovan and Clayson. Congratulations to you 2. Imagine a lot of hooting and clapping because that was going on during the announcement of Donovan and Clayson yesterday. Oh, if only you could be here. I would do my Janelle voice, but I have a little bit of a cough, and so I don't think I'd be able to speak in falsetto for a while. But this was hashtag Be Social Media Savvy with Janelle. Oh, woo, Janelle, hashtag. She was doing 10 tips for helping your business use Instagram, the best way to use Instagram for your business. In the bio, put the website. You know, your company has a website. You want people to go to it. When they read your bio, why make it hard to find it? Give them the link right there. Make your account public. If you're posting a bunch of pictures and it's all private, you're going to get a lot of people that say, I'd like to see what you're doing. Can you please let me in? But it's easier for people to click a button and get into the action immediately. Next, use your own photos. Instagram is not a place for posting little memes and picture jokes and other people's pictures. This is about you. So if you've got a company, share what your company does. Share how your company's culture works. Make people love you based on the pictures that you share, and use your own photos to make that happen. Number 4 was to use hashtags. Make sure to make sure to use a lot of hashtags to get people who are searching for things that you do to put yourself and your information in front of those people. Space out your posts. Don't dump 10 in an hour and then ignore it for a day. Space them out. Space them out. And don't share every post on Facebook and Twitter, because if you do, why do people cross-follow you? You want people to follow all of your social media accounts, and so don't bombard them with the same thing on each account. What's the purpose? Instead, share the type of material that each of those outlets would normally use. On Facebook, share silly memes, share silly pictures that are funny or tug at the heartstrings or whatever. On Twitter, share meaningful articles, share links to videos. It's not so much a place for picture. And like we said, on Instagram, share your own photos. Also respond to comments. Let people know that you are awake. You're there. It's a community and you're part of it. Take advantage of the filters. There's a bunch of amazing filters on Instagram. Use them. When Janelle started Instagram, she didn't even know it was public. She only did it because of the amazing filters. It was only after she started getting hearts and likes and shares that she realized that it was public and other people were looking at what she was posting. Vary your post content. Don't take a picture of just your dog, Emily. Share different things. That's a joke. Emily only has her dog in her Instagram feed every other time or so. It's not constant. So vary your post content. Make sure that you're doing a lot of different things to keep your audience excited about what you're doing rather than bored. Bored means they stop following. Excited means they tell their friends. And always be yourself. If you are you, it's easier to make sure you're always being you. So be you. Be yourself. Oh my gosh, I can never do this. How could I fill Pete's shoes? I can't. Look, I'm sorry. This is going to be rough. I'm going to just briefly tell you what I can about these apps, but the best bet is to Google the name of them or go to the App Store and read the descriptions and look at what other people are saying. This, by the way, is the Tool Time Lady. Pete didn't have a lot to say about her, other than from the nose down, she's as nice and friendly as she looks like she is from the nose up, which was good to hear. But here she is now, the Tool Time Lady, saying, "I wonder what I wouldn't do." Oh, she's saying, "What I wouldn't do." I guess I can read that. What I wouldn't do for a fun spring break app. Because these are some fun spring break apps. Because spring break is on the way. It'll be here in about a month, in fact, for you Full Sail students. This is a great way to take a cheap photo editing app and put it on your phone for $1.99. It's not free, but it's very cheap, and there's no reason to be worried if you don't have Photoshop, because with something like this, like Stack Motion, you can change the background very, very easily. From the mountains to the glaciers to the moon to you can make it look like you're even working hard, Pete said, which I guess I need that app. Mm-hmm. Then we got this incredible app that's only for Android that he thought was a lot like Jarvis, the computer that you interface with on the Iron Man movie. So if you want your own version of Jarvis, he said that this that was the good people at the garbage company coming and getting all of the garbage and taking it away. 3 cheers for them. If it wasn't for them, our streets would be filled with garbage. Pete said that this was a lot like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies, and if you want your own Jarvis, you should download this, but it's not for the iPhone or the iPad or any of those. It is only for the Android on the Android marketplace. Bonus, it's free. So keep those in mind. Have a fun time with your apps. Go buy some. Go get some free ones. And don't bother spring cleaning now, Pete says. Just go get a new app. Now that will do it. Next Wednesday at 2, we hope to have an actual recorded archive for you guys. But if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on the fun because of a mistake that I made, feel free to come join us at the actual recordings. Okay? Looking forward to it. You guys rock. Appreciate your patience.